Welcome you back to another important lecture. And for today, we will see that what are the major blood vessels that we have in the body, and this is the end of this chapter. Now, since this question in terms of the identification of the major blood vessels is frequently asked in your exam, so you have to be very much clear. What we know is that from the left ventricle of the heart, the aorta would emerge out. And from the aorta, we have got multiple arteries getting out. Like if I were to tell you the name of the major arteries, so we have the carotid artery that supply the oxygenated blood to the head and neck. The subclavian artery would take it to the forelimbs. Wherever the word hepatic is coming, so this is associated with the liver, so hepatic artery would take the blood to the liver. And then again, we have got this word mesenteric coming. Mesenteric mean related to the small intestine. So the mesenteric arteries would take the blood to the small intestines. If I were to talk about the coronary arteries, they are located on the surface of the heart and they would supply the oxygen and the nutrients to the cardiac muscles that we have in the heart. The pulmonary arteries would be carrying the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. And when we have these iliac arteries, so they would carry the blood to the legs, we say. Now, most of the names in terms of the major veins would repeat, but there would be the difference. Against the carotid artery, we have this jugular vein coming that would bring the deoxygenated blood from the head and the neck area. The subclavian vein would be bringing the deoxygenated blood back from the forelimbs. Hepatic vein would bring it back from the liver. Now, we have got the oxygenated blood going to the small intestines with the help of the mesenteric artery. But against the mesenteric artery, we do not have the mesenteric vein, but rather then we have this hepatic portal vein. And this hepatic portal vein would take the blood from the small intestines to the liver. Okay, and we have these coronary veins coming. They would take the deoxygenated blood back from the heart. We have pulmonary veins that would take the blood back to the lungs from the heart, and this blood would be the oxygenated blood. All of these veins, they have these veins. So they have the deoxygenated blood. This pulmonary vein is special. It has an oxygenated blood in it. And against the iliac artery, we have the iliac vein, and it would bring the deoxygenated blood back from the legs. So if I were to show you the example, like if you were to see here, now you see that here we have the here we have the right ventricle. So from the right ventricle, the blood is going to the lungs, and here we have got this pulmonary artery. Okay, and likewise, if I were to be talking about the major artery that is originating out of the left ventricle, so here we have got this aorta coming. From the aorta, you see, we would take the hepatic artery out, and this is taking the blood supply to the liver. From the same aorta, I am taking the artery out, and this is the mesenteric artery, and this is supplying the oxygenated blood to the small intestines. Likewise, here you see the diagram. So these are the kidneys with me, and toward the kidneys, the renal artery would be going. And here we have got these iliac arteries, and they would take the blood out of the aorta and they would take it to the legs of my body. Now, against the iliac artery, I have got this, you could say, iliac vein coming. Okay, and this iliac vein is actually carrying the blood toward the heart again. Okay, so we have this iliac vein coming here. Against the renal artery, we have renal vein coming. But against the mesenteric arteries, we do not have the mesenteric vein, but rather than this is hepatic portal vein. And the hepatic portal vein is that it would take the blood supply out of the small intestine and would take it to the liver. Now you see that against the hepatic artery, we have this hepatic vein, and all these veins, like the hepatic vein and the renal vein and the iliac vein, they make a major vein of the body, and that is the inferior vena cava. And likewise, the other situation is that when I would try to be bringing the deoxygenated blood back from the head and neck, so it would be done with the help of the jugular vein and with the help of the subclavian vein, and collectively they would make the superior vena cava. And that superior vena cava would again drain the deoxygenated blood to what? The right atrium of the heart that I have with me. And against the pulmonary artery, you see that we have got this pulmonary vein coming, and this is returning the oxygenated blood from the lungs and back toward the left atria. So this diagram is important, and you must be able to be highlighting them in your exam. So see you in the next class for the immunity chapter.